Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, we're delighted to talk to Randy Gardner. Randy is the Director of Engineering for JVC Broadcasting. And JVC is one of these companies that they're excited about radio. They're still building. They're growing. They're hiring people, looking for people to hire. And Randy has some really fun stories to tell about bringing studios together, rebuilding transmitter sites, and even a little story about the Florida Man Radio Network. Yeah, it's what you think it is. It's all coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store, with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics, with the Bionics Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Air, featuring Playout One radio automation software, comprehensive streaming solutions, website content management, and social media tools for maximum listener engagement on the web at AIIR.com. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to that light bulb from the top of the tower. That one's from Lula, Georgia. Hey, I'm Kirk Harnack. Delighted that you are here joining us for This Week in Radio Tech. It's our 771st episode. Woo, been doing this for 16 years. I need to recount that, make sure it really is 16. At some point, it's going to click over to 17, but maybe that's not till next year. Glad that you're along, and we geek out and we talk about engineering things here on This Week in Radio Tech, and sometimes we share in niche technologies. Sometimes we talk about things that are just slightly outside of engineering. Sometimes a little bit of programming and how programming and engineering interact. What we as engineers can do to make our stations better and help the folks who make the good radio on the air. Today, we're talking to an engineer I'll introduce in just a minute. I'm here at the Telos Alliance studio, because it says it right there, Telos Alliance, and out of focus back there. And I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, so glad that you're along with that. Beautiful fall day here in Nashville, a little chilly. Chris Tarr, I don't know when he's going to be able to join us. He has been super busy, but Chris Tarr apparently is taking the day off as well. I'm going to see Chris this weekend. So he's popping down here to Nashville, and we're gonna have dinner together. So look forward to seeing Chris. All right, enough about that. Let's get to our guest. He's been on the show before, and he and I were talking a couple weeks ago. I thought, Randy, you need to be back on the show, man. You got a lot going on and information to share, and we can all get a little educated. We can all learn from your experience. Maybe we can learn where the furniture is sitting from, you stubbing your toe in the dark. So we're going to do that. Randy Gardner's here. Randy, welcome in. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me. It's been, I don't know, it's been 2 years since I did this with you before, I think.
Something like that. Yeah, it's been about 2 years. I enjoy talking to you, Randy, because you and I have visited some of the same haunts. You've been around Fort Walton Beach, Florida, I believe, right?
For a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and let's see, you were talking about some other markets that we've both been in, although...
I started in Western Kentucky. Russellville,
Murray.
Kentucky.
Oh, Russellville. Okay.
I started in Russellville, then I went to Paducah, Mayfield area. Then I went to Murray, Kentucky, and then came down here on vacation and met a guy that worked at the station here at a bar in Destin. He was playing bass guitar in a band, and we got to talking, and he says, well, you ought to come and see the radio stations, because we both found out we'd both been in radio forever. And so I didn't. And then the last thing I wanted to do on vacation was go look at a radio station. So for the next year or so, we stayed in touch via Facebook and things like that. And so my wife and I came back down the following April, and I went and saw where the radio stations at the time, they were in Destin. And then they wanted a resume, and I said, I haven't had a resume in 20 years. But I typed something up and sent it to them. The next thing you know, we're having the conversation with the wife going, what do you think about maybe moving to Florida? And that's when it happened. That was in 2012. And so we moved down here in 2012. And in 2014, I moved all of the stations from Destin to Fort Walton Beach. And been built the building. Didn't build the building. We remodeled the building and built a programming department on a second floor that didn't exist when we bought it. And I think we moved in this building in 2014. And of course, it was all brand new and clean and shiny. And it's not brand new, clean and shiny anymore. And it's hard to keep it that way.
Man, I'm trying to remember. We're going to take our first commercial break in a second here, Randy. But I was doing some engineering there in Fort Walton or Destin. I can't remember which actual municipality we were in. But It was the station that was the big FM that was licensed to Andalusia, Alabama. And the transmitter site was way out there, like 70 miles away from, or something like that.
I think you were working for a station north of us in a little town called Crestview. Does that sound familiar?
Crestview, yeah. Although the license was for Andalusia, Alabama. The transmitter may have been in Crestview. I remember it was like a 4-hop STL. Which I didn't design. And because of the rather poor coverage that this station had 70 miles away, even though I think it was a 100 kilowatt station, one day I just had to sit down with the owner and say, if you want a Fort Walton Beach radio station, you need to
go get a Fort Walton Beach
radio station. That's right.
That's exactly right.
70 miles. Because you could pick the station up great north of town, and you could pick it up great out in the Gulf of Mexico, but the urban clutter, such as it was in Fort Walton Beach, just, and there was another station on a nearby frequency that was blanketing because it was right there in town with, 50 kilowatts or something. So
when I came here in 2012, there were 4 FMs. There was one on a tower here in Fort Walton Beach. There was another on a tower in Niceville, which is about 30 minutes north of us. There was another station on a tower in Freeport, Florida, which is an hour northeast, and another one in Santa Rosa Beach, which is 30, 45 minutes to the east of us. We've managed to move all 4 of these radio stations over the years to one tower in Fort Walton Beach. And it's anybody listening to this program that's an engineer, to have all 4 stations in the market on one tower is a blessing beyond any, because you never know.
Really?
You're always going to the same spot when you've got a problem.
Well, tell you what, we're going to talk about some of the problems and some of your projects. You've been building studios and transmitter sites, and I know you've got a lot of experience in the last few years doing these things, and we want to hear about some of that. Some of your recommendations, what you wouldn't do again, and what you would absolutely do again. That's coming up. Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by my friends at AIR.com and their new streaming service. Let's check it out with Ricky Lee. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and I'm here with Ricky Lee, the CEO of AIR. Ricky, you guys make a fantastic automation system, but streaming is a really big deal. Tell me about streaming with AIR.
It really is. We've got a beautiful streaming platform with an incredible dashboard with fantastic analytics. And you can buy it for just $20 a month. All you can eat. No limits on bandwidth or bit rates. And you can also record shows as well. So if you like to deliver on-demand content for $20 a month, you can stream and deliver that on-demand content to an RSS feed that can feed your radio player, your mobile apps, or a podcast that people can download and enjoy.
Now, $20 a month, that must be for just some slow MP3, right?
No, MP3, AAC, and we also now support HLS, which is big in the industry right now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How do I start to explore or find out more about streaming through AIR?
You go to air.com, AIIR.com/streaming. And from there, with a credit card, you can sign up and get started.
Check it out from air.com. That's a great deal on streaming. It really is. It's pretty amazing. And they have other things they offer too, like an online music scheduler. And my favorite is the Playout One automation system. It does great voice tracking. Everybody raves about how easy and complete and intuitive the voice tracking module is for Playout One. So check it out. Thanks a lot, air.com, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech, and listeners, engineers, fellow engineers, I wish that you would check them out as well. All right, This Week in Radio Tech with Kirk Harnack, your host, as usual, like I don't need to say that, but Randy Gardner is our guest. And Randy, you're coming to us from what part of Florida? From Fort Walton or Destin?
No, I'm in Fort Walton Beach, just right near downtown. Yeah.
I recall that during the peak tourist season, the traffic there was horrendous. Is it still that way?
It's worse and worse and worse. And this year is even worse because they're doing construction. There's one artery that comes through all of this area, east to west. It's Highway 98, which is also the name of our country station here. And there's only one, if you're going from Pensacola to Panama City Beach, unless you drive north a good, almost an hour and get on I-10, Highway 98 is the only route through that right along the coast. It runs parallel with the coast, give or take, and it's a mile inland, half a mile inland, depending on which part of the coast that you're on. So when you leave Fort Walton Beach headed east toward Destin, you go across Okaloosa Island, and there is one bridge that gets you to Okaloosa Island, and that bridge is being rebuilt at the moment. So it's down to one lane or instead of two, and it's blocked for this, that, and the other all the time. Wow. And the road that our station is on is one of the main arteries coming north down to 98. And so my wife calls me every afternoon during tourist seasons and asks me to look out the window to see how bad tourist traffic is before she goes to work. It's really, really bad this year. And mostly, like I say, it's always bad during tourist season, but the construction here this year has made it a lot worse.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about, in just a minute, not yet, we're going to talk about a new studio build in Orlando for the Florida Man Radio Network. I love the name. That's correct. Is so awesome. That's so awesome. But I got a question. So, normally every place I've lived and engineered for has been very landlocked, right? Very, very much Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, Arkansas. I guess the Hawaii stations have been an exception. So have the Samoa stations, right. But still our transmitters tend to be in the middle of those islands. So my question, when I was doing some engineering in the Fort Walton area, it just seemed a little odd to me, and this is not odd to anybody else who engineers along any of our coastlines, and that's where the bulk of our
go ahead.
Yeah, it's weird to have a transmitter cover a big area. You've got a lot of flat land there, a big area, and nobody lives in half of it because there's water.
Well, that's not. Yeah, okay, that's exactly what I thought you were going to say. Our tower is a 500-foot stick. It was made to be much, much, much taller. It's got like either a 5 or a 7-foot face. It's so it's a big, bulky, wide tower to be only 500 feet tall. But with the hurricane area and all that kind of stuff, you have to overbuild. And the terrain here is so flat that 500 feet in this area will do remarkably well. But I've never understood why build that tower about 3/4 of a mile from the coast, because half of that signal is wasted in the water. But we're not alone. Our big competitor here in town has 2 towers on the same area, like I say, about a half a mile, 3/4 a mile away from the water. And I've been out on the water a few times since we've lived here, and it does great out there. You can carry it for miles.
Yeah,
just not a lot of potential for income out there, but the signal's great.
Oh, gee.
And the other tricky part about being on this close to the water is STLs. 950 STLs will do some of the weirdest things. They'll work great all year. And then like there's an area, it's almost like allergies for STLs. At a certain time every year, at a certain time of the day, just gone. And there's not a thing in the world you can do about it. And as an engineer, that's the worst part in the world, because everybody's looking at you to go fix it. And you're just like, all we can do is wait.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Yeah. Well, compared to 20, 30, well, even 10 years ago, we have a lot of IP options now. Not that that's always perfect, but if you have more than one IP path between 2 sites, you can look at some really serious uptime if you have 2 or 3 different ways to get the IP there. Right. Whereas with 950, you could have diverse receiving antennas. There were systems for that. I worked at a station that had that, and it was necessary because 20 miles of the hop was over the Mississippi River. It just happened to follow. I mean, as curvy as the Mississippi is, 20 miles of it was right over the Mississippi River.
Yeah, the digital options we're using now, even between the tower is a quarter mile from the studios.
Oh wow!
So I've got my 950s turned down as low as they'll go, and but actually had to raise the receiving antenna when we moved the stations over here because some of the trees right next to the studios, I had to get that shot over top of those. But we're using both now, like you say. But I got to tell you, if everything's right, I guess I'm old school, but I do still love the 950 and the real time audio you get out of it, and so do the jocks.
Oh, yeah, sure,
because they can have their headphones on and hear processed audio, man.
I hear you. There's benefits there, and there's ways around
really
it too. But there's also benefits to being absolutely, analog live on air. Hey, let's talk about this Florida Man Radio Network. Okay, the name is pretty funny because we hear all these stories, Florida Man, and then it's something absolutely crazy. So what's this network about?
Well, the station was here before I came back. We haven't even really talked about that, but I built these and then went away, and then the place sold, and I reached out to the current owner, and I was like, hey, I don't know you don't know me, but I'd like to help if I can. I know where every bone and every body is buried around that place. And he was like, that'd be great. So next thing you know, he's calling for codes to the generator or whatever to help him. That relationship ended up with me moving back down here. And Florida Man existed at the time. It originated in Orlando with some stations that we owned at the time in Orlando. It was a brainchild of 2 or 3 people that worked for the company. And, you're always hearing some news story about a Florida man was arrested last week.
Right.
He robbed an Arby's naked, and whatever the case may be. And so we had some really good talent in Orlando that's still with us on Florida Man. The Orlando market went away as far as our ownership was concerned, but we were already simulcasting that here in Fort Walton Beach. So we kept the Florida Man brand and the shows and staff, on air staff for the most part. And now we have bought a 4-station group in Panama City Beach, and we've added one of those signals to the Florida Man network. And can't tell you all the details, but we have had to say that at least once in this interview. We have plans to expand that more, and especially across the Panhandle. Florida Man Radio, the short definition, is a conservative talk radio station with a lot of local talent, as well as some syndicated shows, with a bit more juvenile fart jokes approach than most of the syndicated talk shows that you hear. It's very entertaining. We have this app, the Florida Man Radio app, where listeners call daily to leave their remarks, and that portion of the afternoon show with Shannon Burke has taken on a life of its own, to the point that many of the people that leave remarks daily on the Florida Man now have a chat group on Facebook or something afterwards where they all get together and talk to each other about the remarks they left on Florida Man today. It's a bit silly, but it's a lot of fun, and it's doing really well. It really is.
Well, let's talk about. You got some pictures. Your studios are under construction right now. You're not finished, right? Not even close.
When this project was, a lot of the local shows were originating from Orlando. We owned the studios there. Well, then we sold that market, and our quarterback, if you will, that does afternoons for the station, set him up a studio at home, and he's been doing it from his house. And we have some other talent in the area that we want to use. So we've already have an office there, but we're getting around now to building a studio there so that we have our own studio for him and other air talent to come in and do their show. And we're putting in, of course, we'll have an IP link between there and Fort Walton Beach. We're also putting in a Comrex access because he does other interviews with other markets sometimes that we use the Comrex for. And even a third device that I've got planned to be a backup for either of those. I don't see making a 950 shot from Orlando to Fort Walton Beach. I don't see that working out for us at all. Yeah. So when we bought the Panama City stations, we had obviously the automation systems and the blades and whatnot to get audio from the next gen machines over to the blades, or I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The Comrex devices and the nodes, I'm sorry, to get they're using the Telos nodes to send audio from the studios. That's our STL, in other words. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, there was some other equipment that we didn't have a use for right here. So that first picture that you have there is, as I was setting up all of the new stations, we moved those stations here to Fort Walton Beach, the studio portions. And so started putting stuff in a pile that we could build our Orlando studio with. So that's what project we started this project about 3 weeks ago, and we're going to hit it hard again starting Monday.
Well, let's take a quick look at some of these pictures. If Suncast can toss some of them on screen for us.
The first one that you're going to see looks like a pile of junk that, but that's that's the Orlando stash right there before we did anything with it to get things going. That's a WheatNet IP12. And of course, the profanity delay, the M2 WheatNet, Wheatstone mic processors. Go ahead. That's just a pile of ridiculousness there. The next picture is this is a funny story. So I've got this console, the blades, the mic processors, the SM7s, the RE27s, all of this equipment in the back of my truck with the bed cover. And let me tell you, Kirk, the weather was beautiful. The weather was wonderful all the way from Fort Walton Beach to Orlando. Spent the night at the hotel. I get up the next morning. I go to the office to start unloading, and the heavens opened up. So I ran inside and ripped the tent off of an old tent frame from a radio station that doesn't exist anymore, and ran outside to cover the bed of my truck. I didn't want to be the guy that lost a Wheatstone IP12 console because I let water get on it in the bed of the truck. Go ahead.
Let's continue, please. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There we go.
This is the little room. I got to brag on this a little bit. I've built several studios over the years, and it's most of the time those studios have been built using a room furniture that it already existed in that room, or furniture that I brought from another place. If you'll go ahead and go to the next picture, we bought this furniture from a company called Design Craft, and again, it's my first experience. That's my boss there, John Caraccioli, that putting this kind of furniture together brand new out of the box. But this guy, not only is he a fantastic cabinet builder, I've done some of that myself, so I'm not ignorant to how a radio alarm saw and how a joiner work. But every curve and every miter and every angle was perfect on this, and all of the pass-throughs and cut-throughs and troughs and bridges underneath. You bring all the cabling down through the wall there where it meets the wall on the left side of the picture, and the trough goes all the way around, and where the door is on the front of the picture there's a rack on the other side, an equipment rack. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it was Ray something, but reach out to me if you're there's other people that do it, and there may be other people that do it just as good or better, but we were very happy with what we got from him, and kudos, because it was a great work. Really
Design
good work.
craft. Okay, cool. What's next?
Yep.
Okay.
Our rack, what we're doing is we're putting in a Gates-Air IP link, the IP 100 there. I have a 200 here at the studios, and that'll be our main form of an STL, if you will, from the studios there to Fort Walton Beach. And there's also Comrex rack access. There's a server body computer, but it's actually a next-gen machine. And the little relay gizmo at the top there looks like something Randy Gardner built, because it is, with the little doorbell button on it. That's my test button.
Okay.
With having we don't know who running the board. It's someone who knows how to use next gen or whatever automation. I'm just putting in a button in the studio, and that button will close that relay for 1 clean second and then open. And that way you don't have to worry about somebody double tapping the button, somebody thinking they pushed it, or maybe they didn't. Just press the button quick, press it slow. Whatever you do to the button is going to close that relay nice and clean for 1 second. And those will go through the IP link to fire the Play Now command on Next Gen in Fort Walton Beach.
Nice. I love it. And we know, I noticed there's not a lot of equipment there because it's just a studio. It's not like a full radio station.
No,
right?
that's the rack room for this facility. Basically, that's all that'll be in there. And the main reason I even put that out there was because it didn't have room in the rack that was in the furniture, and I didn't want the clutter or the noise. There's a couple of pieces there, the switch and whatnot, that have a little cooling fan. And so I got all of that. And the relay is going to click every time you hit the button. It's going to click when it closes and click again when it opens. And so I got all that noise out of the studio. So it's clutter and keeping the studio quiet was my main reason I did that. And oddly enough, it's something that John had in his garage at home, so it was cheap.
Yeah, I hear you. Hey, we're talking to Randy Gardner. Randy is the director of engineering for JVC Broadcasting, and he's mostly in Florida, but they are in other markets as well. We'll hear more about that. And I want to see, there's some interesting photos coming up of a transmitter site refurbishment, and I want him to explain that. He's got some great planning with floor plan layouts that I'm interested in hearing, just, how that worked out for Randy. It's This Week in Radio Tech. I'm Kirk Harnack, and our show is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics. And, one of the just clever, I mean, better than clever. It's just, it's in a way, it's groundbreaking. The virtual rack from Broadcast Bionics. There are so many different broadcast infrastructure products that are available now, and more becoming available, that run in containerized software. And much of the rest of the IT world is already in on this and has been for years, at least 10 years so far. Well, Telos Alliance probably has the most, but also they're joined by Ferncast and Sound4 and 2WCOM with different broadcast infrastructure products. Now, I work for Telos Alliance, so obviously I'm pretty familiar with their products. An audio console, a phone system, an intercom system, audio processors. All of these are available in containerized software. Well, containerized software is a little bit complex. I mean, it's kind of a lot of bit complex. There's a lot to get right that you have to get right, including the internal networking inside of the host server. And so what you want to do is either have somebody professionally install it for you, or take the easy route. Get the virtual rack from Broadcast Bionics, because what they've done is they've put all this hard work under the hood that you don't have to deal with. If you don't know about Linux, if you don't know about containers, you don't have to learn those things. You get virtual rack, you spin it up, you browse into it, you choose the applications that you need to run, like an audio console or a phone system, or a Forza FM or a streaming audio processor. And You tell it to stream to spin those up. It downloads them from the respective manufacturers and runs them. You give it the IP address that you want it to have, and by golly, it just spins up and works. Now you still need to license that product from its individual manufacturers, right? The virtual rack is kind of magic, but it's not that magic. You still got to pay for what you want to use. But many products you can at least install them and at least get some feel for how they work without licensing them. But you want to use them, you need to license them. You can easily then deploy these products. There's also failover options, and I've gotten a demo of this a couple times now, both at the Telos Alliance headquarters from Dan McQuillan with Broadcast Bionics and at an NAB show. Look at this, there are 3 different videos on this webpage. We'll have a link to the webpage in our show notes. You can go to bionics.co.uk or bionic.radio, and get to this page for the virtual rack. Dan McQuillan will explain it to you very thoroughly. There's a couple different sizes of virtual rack, and that determines how many appliances or how many infrastructure products you can run in them. This sounds very forward thinking, and by golly, it is. It's really amazing. By the way, we had our engineers at Telos Alliance look at what Bionics is doing with virtual rack, and we were impressed. We thought, wow, this is a simplified way to properly deploy containerized software. So the Bionics crew has done a fabulous job. And of course, they update the software, they keep improving it, but it is just amazing what it will do. So consider this for your next build or next replacement. You need broadcast products, broadcast infrastructure products. You can get them, put them in a rack, have redundancy if you want to pay for redundancy, and do this in a lot less rack space, a lot less heat generation, and a lot more control locally or remotely. Check it out from Broadcast Bionics at bionic.radio or bionics.co.uk. Again, there's links in the show notes. All right. Hey, Randy, we're talking to Randy Gardner. He is with JVC Broadcasting. Randy, what various markets would I find JVC Broadcasting? I hear you guys just are expanding here and there.
Right now, Fort Walton Beach, Panama City Beach, and Long Island, New York.
Oh, okay.
Kind of a
cool.
Another shot you won't make with 950.
No, you can do it with IP. but that, yeah. Let's talk about this RF project, this transmitter facility.
Well, I don't know if you remember or not, but the last time that you and I talked on the show, you were commenting on how I always had plans drawn for everything. And if you go ahead and open that folder, the first picture, I do this for several reasons. Number one is, that's actually to scale. Each one of the little gray boxes is 12 inches. That's the 12-inch floor tile that's in the building. Even the short ones on the side are exactly like the floor tile is in the building and at the upper end. But I do this to see it, to make sure it'll fit, to make sure it will work, and to show to people smarter than I am, to say, what do you think? And finally, to show John and anybody whose money I'm spending, and say, this is what I think we should do, and what do you think? And the cool thing about now having an owner with some engineering knowledge and capabilities, well, it's twofold. It's very helpful most of the time. I got to tell you, on the studio build in Orlando, I thought he would be there for moral support. He was the guy on the ladder and drilling the holes. He worked harder than I did, and that's just so rare to have the CEO in there, hands on, and it's really pretty cool. Unless you want to convince your owner you need something that you really just want, and that he'll call me out on, you don't need that. Well, see, I used to convince the owner that I did need it, but it's a little harder with him. But what I'm doing is that's just my HVAC. That's 2 fax 15s, a fax 30, and a fax 10 there near the bottom right, which is we already have, which is our backup transmitter. But everything from the dehydrator. And an interesting story, we priced a new combiner system. We have a Jam Pro combiner, a three-way branch, and then a constant impedance combiner that all feeds through before it hits the switch between the main and the backup antenna. So we were pricing all of this out, and we went to Jam Pro to get a bid. And of course, they had in their records what we had now, and they were able to redesign our combiner system, but reuse the constant impedance for 1021 that we had added to that a few years ago, and saved us tens of thousands of dollars. And so that's they were helpful in getting that drawn up and getting that to us. So we have a tower site here that I told you about earlier. We have 4 buildings. One of the buildings, building 3, was empty. Well, it wasn't empty. I think the next picture will show you how unempty it was. It was just full of junk. It had been deserted or abandoned or whatever you want to call it by a previous tenant. And there was, I think, a CCA in there. I believe the date tag on it was 1969. Maybe it was a CSI. I can't remember what it was, but
yeah,
it was old. And so we cleaned it up. The cool thing about it was it's a building already on the site where our tower is located. And I don't know the history of what was in this building years ago, but it had already had a 600 amp electrical service. So I was like, we can do this right here. And so I started the project a year and a half ago, I guess it was. And one thing has happened after the other, and I have tape on the floor where each transmitter goes. I have the combiner system installed, and we're close, but other things have taken priority, time and money, and we haven't been able to finish it yet.
We can buzz through a couple of pictures if Suncast will do that, and if you want to buzz through it quickly and get to the one with the tape on the floor.
Well, there's what it looked like when I opened the door the first time.
Oh, and okay. All right.
I think the one transmitter I'm speaking of, we'd already pulled out of there. Maybe no, that's it on the left. That's the side of it, right there on the left side of the picture. You can just see part of it. But go ahead to the next one, and I think you'll see there's the clean floor. That's about a week's worth of work with my son and I. He came down and visited and helped me buzz through that. Go ahead.
Nice.
There you go.
There's the tape.
Yep. The combiners aren't there yet. The frame I'm building there, if you go to the next shot, that's going to house the 6-inch patch bay for the 6-inch rigid going out to the main antenna and the aux antenna. We already have that in place where the combiner is in the other building, but that's what that framework there is for.
That's an interesting idea. See, you're using some pipes. I think they call them threaded nipples and floor flanges to stabilize part of that frame. That's a great idea. I like that.
Well, I actually got the idea from an old clothes rack that somebody in my family had years ago that they had built out of either gas or galvanized half-inch pipe. And, they make all of that for putting shelves on the wall. Now you can Hobby Lobby and places like that have what I assume is fake pipe. I don't think it's the real thickness of a water pipe, but it is exactly the same size and it looks the same. So that's where I came up with the idea. And of course, I've got it suspended or attached to the ceiling.
Yeah,
pretty solid. Because when you start pulling those out and putting them in, you get a little rough with it. And there's 2 of the 3 combiners there that will the tape there. In the bottom of the picture is where the constant impedance will go through, and that 6-inch will come out of the top, go through the other one, through the other combiner, and then up to the backside of that switch.
Probably most. I'm sorry. Probably most of our audience knows what an FM combiner is, but for those who are maybe new, and I know we have some viewers who are just kind of learning about broadcast engineering, a combiner is a device which isolates different transmitters from each other. Each transmitter thinks they're the only one there, and they have a path to the antenna, because you can't just tie transmitter outputs to each other. It would blow each other up. It'd be very unpretty. So a combiner is used to isolate each transmitter's output from the other transmitters, and yet allow the power, or most of it, 98% of it, to make its way through the combiner and then to the antenna. Go, yeah, Brandy. What?
The loss is almost nothing using a combiner. I mean, I guess there's a little bit, but and of course, everything's got to be tuned, even on site. Part of the agreement in buying a combiner system is somebody's going to show up for a day with some very expensive equipment and the knowledge to use it, to make sure that each device is tuned exactly to that frequency and everything's coming out the other end the way it should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's what a combiner does. It allows various transmitters, different frequencies, maybe even different power levels, to combine together so they can go up typically a single coax to the antenna. And it's a master antenna on the tower that will handle several different frequencies at that point. And,
we've got
go ahead.
We've got a 10-bay Shively.
Yeah.
And of course, right in the middle of the dial is, give or take, 98.1, which is one of our stations. And, it's always odd to watch with the backup antenna how much reflected power your Viswar going from one frequency to the other. It's an N+1. And you go to 98, it's always a sweet spot. Everything's always just a little better right there in the middle of the spectrum, because that antenna will go from one end to the other, not completely, but I forget what the max high end, low end is on that antenna. But we're doing 98.1, 102.1, and 103.1, so we're not stretching very far either direction.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's look at a couple more pictures from that site, if we have a couple more pictures to look at.
That's just running, electricals run. Pretty much. I thought that was the last picture in that folder, actually.
What this building, it looks like a prefab building built maybe for the telecom industry.
Yeah, exactly. That's what all three of them here are. They're all like 12 by 30. One's 12 by 35. Some have a concrete floor. Others have wood on a concrete slab. They're all a little bit different, but basically they're all the same, and they're grounded like crazy. Even the miter joints on the door frames have a jumper going from one side to the other. And I don't know what the proper term is, but that is my grounding whips for each of the transmitters. And since that's where the 30 would go, I've got a strap going to each of the cabinets, each of the racks. Yeah. And each place now has a grounding strap just hanging and ready.
Tell you what, we're going to take our next break here pretty soon, but it does impress me how the telecom industry generally gets grounding a lot more right than the broadcast
really
industry does.
You're right. They really do.
But and we can take cues from that. We can look at the design of telecom buildings, although those are kind of going away. They're putting most of the gear up on the tower for 5G. Right. But we can look at telecom buildings and gain some understanding of, that's how they do it, and they have studied this, and they have the mind to spend to do it right.
That's the pockets that make a lot of difference in this too, But they'll have a huge grounding bus. Grounds even to the air handlers on a split AC system will have they're grounded. Everything's grounded.
Oh yeah, everything. Even the door frames and the door.
Yep, that's right. And with braid going from the frame to the door.
Yes. We're talking to Randy Gardner. He's talking about some projects that he's been doing lately here at JVC Broadcasting. I'm Kirk Harnack. It's This Week in Radio Tech. And our show is brought to you in part by Angry Audio. And you won't be angry when you use it. If you're angry, get some Angry Audio stuff. You'll be happy. And we're going to talk right now. I got a little video here about the headphone disconnector. Let's have a look.
As broadcast engineers, we spend a lot of our time connecting things together, but sometimes it's just as important to be able to disconnect something. What am I talking about? This is the Angry Audio Disconnector. The disconnector. So here you have something that you just put in series with your headphones, with your Talents headphones. Now, this is available in the 1/4-inch tip ring sleeve size, as you see here. Also available in the 3.5 millimeter size. And you can even mix and match inputs and outputs. The point is, this is what's in the middle. This is the disconnector. So you have a talent that forgets to take their headphones off. They get up, they start to walk away, and boop, look at that. No more damage to the connectors that you normally use. No more damage to the headphone jack on the audio console or under the furniture. Oh, look, it just went back together, and I wasn't even trying. It's magnetic. It's the disconnector, or the headphone disconnector from Angry Audio. Disconnector. No more broken connectors. Check it out on the web at angryaudio.com.
That's a brilliant idea, and by golly, it works. It works really, really well. They got a lot of things that you need to build studios at Angry Audio. They are literally just down the road from me. I love stopping by there and talking to Catfish and seeing what they've got up their sleeve for their next project. This Week in Radio Tech is also brought to you by Max Connect. Let's hear from Max Connect.
When I first spoke with Josh Bone about Max Connect, he told me that it worked great for remote transmitter sites where connectivity was a challenge. And he's absolutely right. We even have sites where we're using this as a backup to our STL using Max Connect's dual carrier option, and it works perfectly. It works for us. It'll work for you. Max Connect.
Gary's right. Hundreds of broadcasters are using Max Connect wireless 4G LTE modems to get reliable internet data to their transmitter sites and their remote broadcasts. MaxConnect.com. Check it out. And thanks so much to Josh Bone for having the vision and the negotiating skills and the persistence to put this whole thing together. It's a real benefit for broadcasters. Thank you, Josh.
Indeed, Max Connect Wireless. They've long been a sponsor of this show, and that's one reason why I appreciate them. Josh Bone's a great guy, and he has put together a terrific organization. In fact, Adam Robinson, one of his engineers, is going to be our guest on the show here in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. Max Connect and Max Connect Wireless. You can check out all their offerings, their hardware, their audio, their services, including Max Connect Wireless at Max Connect. I know it's spelled funny. There's a link in the show notes. MaxConnect.com. Check it out. And we appreciate them sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right. I'm Kirk Harnack here in Nashville, Tennessee in the Telos Alliance studio. Randy Gardner is my guest this time. Randy, you want to move on to the next?
I do. Okay, just one side note. I did not know Angry Audio was in Nashville.
Yeah, they're actually in Franklin, which is down the road. They're 12 miles
I know
down
it well.
the road.
I was there for 3.5 years, so yeah, I learned my way around.
That's right. That's right. You were at the Cumulus stations here?
I was with Cumulus and 18 to 21, something like that. June of 18 to April 1st of 21.
You lived here, and we never got together for lunch or dinner.
We talked on the phone a couple of times. I don't know. I when I was putting in that Telos system, I called you with a couple of questions, and you were a little too popular and big time to talk to me.
Right.
It kind of blew me off, actually.
I'm sorry.
No, I had lunch with Robert Combs the other day. I still stay in touch with those guys. He's camaraderie.
He apparently
lives right up the street from me.
Oh, is he? Well, he's
not literally.
like Angry.
I mean, he lives down in this area, but he's in the panhandle of Florida. Put it that way.
Well, Robert Combs, one of my favorite people, and he is having to go through the voir dire process for jury selection right now.
Oh, that's right. He told me this. Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I told him to get a ball cap that has embroidered on it the word guilty with an exclamation point, and wear that. And when the judge says, "Take off that hat, son," take it off and put it on your lap so that the prosecutor or the defense attorney can still see it. Then you may get out.
This is a guy that has been all over the country building studios, rebuilding studios, tower sites, installed more fax transmitters than I'll ever see. And Saturday, though, he's just walking around changing light bulbs at the studio like the next guy.
Yeah, sure.
He does it
That's
all.
what we do.
He's a good dude.
So which do we want to talk about
we'll go
next?
Real quick to the Panama City merger, just to share those pictures with you. I got to show you my tower beacons first of all. I mean, you got one you're showing off there behind you on the on your set.
Yeah, Panama City merger.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the rack where all of our audio switching, and if you'll notice, that's broadcast tools, audio switching. And if you'll go to the next picture, this is what happened to that area after we merged with the Panama City stations. I've got 4 next-gen machines, and I call this my hodgepodge of audio because it's everything from broadcast tools, analog, to WheatNet blades. We're all living together in the same rack. Ironically, 3 of those automation machines have the WheatNet card, and one still has an audio science card.
Cats and dogs living together.
That's exactly what that is, and they're all getting along pretty good. And like I mentioned this to you earlier, when we purchased Panama City, I was excited about this. Anytime that your company's growing, it's exciting. It's a bit of a jolt in the motivation and attitude. But there's always so many unknowns. You don't know what works, what doesn't, what workarounds they had. But with this particular purchase, Jeff Baxter, who is their engineer there, and Stephen Griggs, we call him Sketch, was their IT guy. And I got to keep both of those people in the company. So all of those unknowns, even down to passwords and usernames and a program from WheatNet that I'd never even seen before or even didn't know what it even did. All of that, the mystery went away because the people who had built it and had been taking care of it for the last few years were one on my left and one on my right. And it went flawlessly as a project as flawlessly as a project like that can go. I mean, anytime you've got that much stuff going on, there's going to be a little bug here and there. And we had a few, don't get me wrong, but I couldn't imagine it going any better. It's just try to surround myself with people smarter than I am, I guess, but it really went well, and it's all going well. We've made some programming changes, which I was involved with making them happen, but not so much in the idea process, but maybe a little bit here and there. But we're making some positive changes there. They're using the Telos nodes for the STL for 3 of the 4. Well, 2 of the 4. We've got one of the processors with the node built in, and then we're using the Comrex, a brick. I think it's a brick 3 on the talk station. But again, a hodgepodge of technology and vintage of equipment. But so far, knock on wood, everything's working pretty good. And the next picture I think is, I'm kind of jumping to it in my head, but there's my beacons. Funny,
I love it.
Funny story. I think, but I'm a nerd. I wanted to make them flash, and there's just an LED puck in the bottom and top of each one, so I didn't need a flasher module. So I went on eBay and bought a little 555 chip circuit from a guy building parts for model railroading. And I bought that about a month when I moved back down here in 21. It's been flashing 41 times a second with a mechanical automotive relay. Click, 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 click. It drives some people crazy. Jeff, the engineer from Panama City, didn't like it at all. It was just driving him insane. But it's been clicking like that now for 3.5, 4 years. Once in a while, the guy from eBay that I bought it from will send me a message asking me if it's still working. That's pretty funny.
All right.
The other folder I sent you pictures of is still pretty much the the combining everything from Panama City, but we skipped number 3. Let's go back to folder number 3.
The third folder. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a jump into that one.
We had a big room here that we had originally built to do like acoustic live performances in.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so it was getting used less and less. And we have people coming in every week to record talk shows for Florida Man Radio and other stations. We have one show called Emerald Coast Weekly, where the president of the chamber comes in each week, and then we have 4 different guests every week that he interviews for the show that airs on the weekend. So, I know we're running out of time. We'll skip through this. I'm just really kind of proud of this because this is a stick build. This was not a design craft piece of furniture, which it doesn't look that professional either, but it went pretty good. So again, I drew it out, drew a couple of options, and asked the talent and other people which idea they like best. This is the one we came up with. So if you'll go to the next one, actually stick build a piece of furniture to serve as the cabinetry, if you will, for the console. Go ahead and go to the next one, and you'll just kind of see it taking shape. Keep going to the next one. So there's pretty much the finished project. And then I tried my hand. I'm not a really good painter, but I did some stencils, and that's my attempt at a barnwood finish.
That looks good. I like it.
And then
I like it.
Keep going.
And the fact that this furniture crosses a step. You can't buy that at the office store.
That took a little bit, so I just did a little dry brushing, and then I covered it with epoxy. And have you ever done that?
No,
it's not easy. I did a flag and a mic and some stenciling and stuff around it. And
how custom cool is that?
Well, it's not perfect, but by golly, nobody else has got one like it.
Right. Oh, I love it.
And it was all built with just stuff that it's an old M60 series console. I think that's in the next picture. One more. I'm sorry.
That's some LED lights.
You really can't tell, but one of the old Audio Arts analog consoles. But again, as we move forward,
nice.
I've got a DMX console that I plan to put in there and start converting the Fort Walton Beach plant to digital, to WheatNet.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I have to do that to you, but that's what we had.
No, you continue what you. It's best thing to do. You use what you know and what you have, and of course at the other end of this thing, it looks like you have a bar. Did you do an EQ check on the bar?
I haven't gotten that finished yet, but what was odd is those guys that were sitting there in the picture. They do a real estate show every Saturday. And I told them my plans and showed them the picture. The next week, they came in with a great big box with wine and vodka and all this kind of stuff. I said, no, not yet. It's coffee bar. But anyway.
We're having fun coffee with it. Bar. Okay. Hey,
I'm sure it'll be more than that.
We're talking to Randy Gardner from the Florida Panhandle, Fort Walton Beach area, and about studios and stuff. Tell you what, Randy, we're going to take our last quick break here, and when we come back, if you got a little more story to tell, great. And then we're going to be looking for a tip of the week because you've done so many things. Is there any overriding things you've learned, or any little tips and tricks you've learned that you'd like to pass on to other engineers that have helped you to be successful and muddle through these projects and get through them quite successfully? Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by Broadcasters General Store, and they represent, of course, lots of different lines of equipment, including Innovonics. And Innovonics makes a product that I'm excited to tell you about because I own one of these myself, and that is the Sophia 568. It's the site streamer, and I love this box because of what all it does. It's necessary to be able to monitor remotely because you can't always get a true feel for a problem from one of your station employees. Some employees, sure, but other times you need the listen for yourself. You need to see what's going on. You can install the site streamer within the reception contour of your station and monitor off-air analog FM or HD signals via the web, and you can do that from anywhere, of course. It's got a built-in band scanner that displays a spectrum plot of the whole FM band or a section of the band that you select, and it identifies, who has HD radio transmissions. It gives local and remote readout of all the pertinent FM RDS and HD pad data. And so you'll know how your RDS is operating, if it's stuck or if it's operating correctly. Same thing for your HD data. Easy front panel setup, uses a jog wheel menu navigation, or you can use the web to set it up. That's how I do it. I think that's quicker. It stays on channel and on mode through signal loss and through power loss. And it doesn't auto blend between FM and HD like a consumer radio, because you want to listen to what you want to listen to, right? Without it doing things automatically. Front panel alarms or rear panel tallies indicate audio loss, low signal, RDS errors, and HD reception loss. And there's a split mode for monitoring the audio if you want to set up your timing between your FM and your HD1. I used that in Hawaii when I set up mine, and it worked great. It was easy to get it right spot on. There are free firmware updates easily available. It's a half-rack package, features an OLED high-res graphic display, LED level meters you can see from across the room, no problem. Has a real-time clock, battery backup, and SNMP is fully supported. So lots of features, as you can tell. And let me tell you, there's a user by the name of Eric Juteau. He's an engineer with Octave Communications, and he says, we love it, and so do our clients. The Sophia 568 builds on top of what Innovonics, the 638 FM HD site streamer already offers: an upgraded web interface, rich station logo, artist experience feature set, extra quality metrics, and support for multi-user streaming, audio output options, and the new features are accurate and rock solid, fully controllable via SNMP, and dependable. That's a user. That's Eric Juteau. I could say the same thing, except that I haven't used all those features yet. I'm just using a lot of the basic features. So it's the Sophia 568 HD radio site streamer from Innovonics. It is a blessing and a godsend, and I love this box. You can get it from Broadcasters General Store. The website is bgs.cc, bgs.cc. They have sharp pencils, good deals, and they can tell you when something is going to arrive pretty accurately. They put a lot of work into their delivery system and delivery tracking. And also they maintain great relationships with all the vendors and manufacturers. Check them out. BGS, Broadcaster General Store at bgs.cc. All right, we're about to finish up here. Randy Gardner is our guest. And Randy, I'm looking for, any more of a story or some wisdom. You got wisdom up there?
I've got a little wisdom, but it's not technical wisdom.
Okay.
There's a lot of people smarter than I am, more educated than I am, that just quite frankly know more than I do. But we gotta take time. If you got anybody on staff that's interested at all, don't be too busy. Show them around. Not only will it help you, like if I'm out of town or something, I've got a couple of guys here that have shown a little interest, and I show them where things are and how things work. So if something doesn't come on, I can at least tell them what button to push, and they know where that button is. But we got to start getting some younger people interested in what we do in from RF to Telos and WheatNet. Everybody I know that I learned from through the years, the Mike Goldshirts and the Frank Hurdles, the Olin Booths and the Rolf Swanners and Roberts, the Yanceys, the Bobbies, the Dougs. I could go through the list. Everybody's getting older, and the business is changing, but it's just I don't see a lot of young people getting into the technical side of it. The IT side, yes, and I see more and more IT people getting pushed in to the RF side and the audio side, and it's not as dangerous as it used to be, depending on what vintage of equipment you have. But
true.
They can get hurt, and that's my words of wisdom.
Well,
take time to talk to them.
Yeah, good point. There are different industries where outsiders seem to sometimes get a little rebuffed coming in. And a good example of that people in aviation have complained about for years is, let's say a young person is interested in learning how to fly and he goes to his local airport and there's some, old hangar talkers, forget the right word, but some guys hanging around the hangar and they're playing checkers or something and they're having some talk about flying and they almost rebuff the new person coming in. And we got to watch your attitude. If somebody's interested, by golly, let's help them. Let's show them the way.
Well,
and
I will say most of the people I have worked with, I've followed a lot of people around over the years, starting back in 1980, believe it or not. Been doing this 45 years. Not that wasn't always just the engineer or even the assistant engineer. I mean, I was on the air for years and this, that, and the other. I managed and I've done it all. But I always liked the technical side. That was always my favorite part. And of course, there was that time when if something was off the air, you'd get in the car, you'd crank it up, you'd floor it. And, the sky is falling, we're off the air. And I've calmed down from that just a little bit. But I've always been fortunate, with one or two exceptions, that they were happy to answer questions and share knowledge. There's always one or two. But my point, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, you're right about the airport metaphor, but most people I've met in broadcast engineering are pretty nice people. And they like to share their stories, but they like to share it with somebody else in the same profession. And, the generation gap between someone like me, 62 or 61 years old, versus someone, just getting into the workforce that's 19 or 20, there's some bridges to hop there, but still try to take time and just show them the basics of how things work if they're interested. And I think that's how I got here. And hopefully that'll bring some more into the profession. I mean, JVC Broadcasting is looking for people left and right in almost every department. In every department, in one market or another, we're looking for radio people who know radio, people who like radio, mostly people who love the business. Call us, or email us, or whatever.
We'll put a link to the HR department or wherever your listings are in our show notes.
We've got an email address for that. Yes. Okay,
good deal. Randy, we got to go, man. Thank you for joining us for an hour, for preparing all those pictures. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them, but we probably got to 70% of them anyway. And really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us here on TWiRT.
I had a good time. Thanks for having me. We'll do it again someday.
All right, sounds good. Randy Gardner's have been our guest. He's the Director of Engineering for JVC Broadcasting. Big thanks to Suncast, always on the ball, getting our production together. Thanks very much, Suncast. And we got to go. So we'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.